pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may now be seated.
This poem is called "The Noble and the Brave," a Veterans Day tribute. These brave ones brave their men. No hesitation held them back. They were proud to take a stand. They left their friends and family. They gave up normal life. To serve their country and their God, they plowed into the strife.
morning, everyone, and I thank each of you for being here today. Students, faculty, staff, and most importantly, the veterans. I'd also like to thank Mr. Jerger. His desire to put his job on the line by asking me to speak today is truly a commendable sacrifice. Today we celebrate and show appreciation to the living members who have served or are currently serving in our military. Included among them, I would include the first responders. The duty and sacrifices our police, fire, and EMT show and make on a daily basis to protect us from ourselves is also deserving of recognition today. You, regardless of your military association, are truly heroes and deserve to be celebrated. In order for you to fully understand the impact my participation in the United States military had on my life, you need to know it began at a very early age. Let me start by saying I wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. So much so that my mother, when speaking to her friends, would often refer to me as her special child. Someone like many of my former colleagues who I taught with might have also said during my time of teaching as I look at one of them. At the age of 5, I watched an episode of Superman. And like any young boy at that age, I came to the logical conclusion, if Superman could fly, so could I. So I walked up the stairs, grabbed one of my dad's long sleeve shirts, tied it around my neck, and jumped. I didn't fly. I did, however, break my right arm. That was my first lesson in gravity and in poor decision making. A year later, inspired by my first grade teacher, Mrs. Smith, after she did a lesson on colors, I, along with my friend and next door neighbor Keith, went home, looked in my barn, found a can of red barn paint and a can of white barn paint, and also my dad's Indian motorcycle. After about 10 minutes of fervent painting, our new pink creation, saddlebags, tires, seats, fenders, the whole 9 yards was ready for display. Unfortunately, the first to see it was my dad, who happened to be a World War II veteran. He was, to put it politely, not very impressed. He marched us across the street to Keith's house and explained to Keith's dad, also a World War II veteran, what we had done, and his dad delivered swift justice, spanked them both, and he did. At the age of 8, I was still on a roll. I was watching an episode of Combat. Many of you may remember that, some of you veterans. It's based on World War II. I geared up with my plastic machine gun, my helmet, and my little plastic grenades, and I went out to the park behind my house where they had a stone pile, and I dug myself a bunker. And while digging through that bunker, I found a gas mask. I couldn't believe it, to have a gas mask and be able to play. Nobody else in the neighborhood had one. They had their machine guns, they had their helmets, but no one had a gas mask but me. So I wore that with pride after I had my mom put a strap on it. Fast forward 1 year to my first year of baseball, and I was a catcher, and my coach hands me a box and says, "Here, put this on." So I grabbed it, and I said, "Where's the strap?" as I put it to my mouth. Turns out this is not a gas mask. It's for an entirely different purpose and protects an entirely different part of our body. Yeah. 1 whole year I wore that thing on my face. I don't even know who it belonged to. Now, I'd like to say that as I grew older, my decision-making improved, but it didn't. I suffered through many car crashes in high school that suggested otherwise. But by the time I graduated, I came to a point in my life where I didn't know what I was going to do. And maybe some of you sitting here today will feel the same way in the next few months. What am I going to do? I'm done with school. Where do I go? What do I do? I played football in high school, and I had visited Defiance College, so on a whim, I called Coach Snyder and said, "Hey, would it be okay if I came up and tried to play football for you? And he said, sure, show up in August, and I did. And next thing you know, I'm a college student, and it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. 3 years later, I run out of money. I didn't want to be buried in student debt, so a friend of mine suggested that we go into the military. At the time, the United States Marine Corps offered a buddy program. 3 years enlistment, 3 years in active reserve, and they also offered what they called a deep educational assistance program. For every dollar I contributed, they would contribute too. So it was a means to an end. At 21, I took my first ever plane ride. I flew to San Diego, went to San Diego Recruit Depot, and that's where it all began. What began as a financial decision for me turned into one of the most transformative experiences of my life. I earned my education, I received some commendations and awards, and I ultimately graduated from college. But more than that, I gained discipline, perspective, and a deep appreciation for service. So where does a broken arm, a peaked motorcycle, and wearing a cup on my face come into play? Ironically, I was assigned under an open contract to serve in the intelligence field and granted the top secret sealed compartmented information and intelligence clearance, one of the highest security clearances in the nation. I will say, thinking back on it, I often wonder about our national security at the time. I met people from all over the world, traveled to places I never imagined, and made friendships that have lasted a lifetime. I trained alongside those who were ready to answer the call at any moment. In May of 1983, before my discharge, the Central Intelligence Agency said they were interested in me, and they sent me this letter. The Central Intelligence Agency. James Bond stuff. They were going to offer me a position that paid at a rate twice that of the current teacher. Again, my decision-making skills or lack thereof was tested, and based upon my previous examples, you might see where this is going to end up. Like many of you, there are times in our lives when decisions must be made, and I knew I wanted to be a teacher. Good, bad, or indifferent, the pursuit of that dream, the dream that put me in the position I was in, outweighed any other offer. And much of what I learned in the service helped me come to that conclusion. I've made some good decisions in my life. I did go to college. I enlisted in the Marine Corps. I married my wife, Andrea, and I have 2 wonderful children, Grant and Garrett. And I taught at the Defiance City Schools. So I offer each of you as a young adult a few words of advice from a guy 50 plus years older than you, who during his time experienced much of what you're feeling as you transition into life and adulthood. Number 1. Every decision you make will not always lead to success. Keep trying. 2, don't wait for others to motivate you. Motivate yourself. 3, learn to be consistent. 4, believe in yourself. 5, create good habits and repeat them often. 6, don't chase the next best thing. Master one thing until you can't be ignored. 8, I learned from watching some other videos about this. If you fall, get back up. 9, never be too old to ask for help. And 10, if you see something wrong, take a stand and make it right. And I also noticed that I happened to forget something. I went from 6 to 8 when I should have gone from 6 to 7. I know social media. I know all this stuff. 6, 7. You teachers love this, don't you? You just every day. Okay. Each veteran here today has their own story, their reason for joining, their experiences, their sacrifices. They are all different. Some served in times of peace, others in times of war. But what unites them is their willingness to serve something greater than themselves, to protect people they've never met, to stand guard over the freedoms we often take for granted. Many of the veterans of my father's generation, those who fought during World War II, are no longer with us. Their average age today is 98, and there are approximately 64,000 still alive among the 16 million that served. The Korean War veterans number around 1.2 million, and their number too is declining and is expected to decline by around 138,000 by 2030. And there's my brother David, a Vietnam veteran who's now 77 years of age. The age of the Vietnam veteran average is 74. Their generation faced a much different kind of war, a different kind of homecoming. Yet their service, their sacrifice, and their resilience continue to shape our nation's story. Like so many others, my brother answered the call, served with honor, and carried the weight of that experience long until after the uniform came off. So today, as we gather here in this school gymnasium, let's take a moment to recognize that we are in the presence of living history. These people represent what our great country is. These men and women didn't wear just a uniform. They carried the weight of our nation's values on their shoulders. They trained, they sacrificed, and they stood ready to defend our way of life. To each of you veterans here today, thank you. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your quiet strength. Your service has shaped our country and inspired generations. You are the reason we can gather freely, speak openly, and dream boldly. And to the students in the room, if you're unsure of your path, that's okay. I've been there. Just know that sometimes the best decisions come from the most unexpected places. And sometimes even a kid who once painted a motorcycle paint can find purpose, discipline, and pride in service. And finally, as a former teacher, my goal and my hope is that this lesson presents some kind of impact to you today. To do so, I'd ask that the veterans here before me please remain seated while I speak directly to the students and the others present. This lesson, of course, is going to require a minimum level of physical exercise, but I think it's suited for all present. Layla's like, what do I have to do? Stand and remain standing. If you have a parent who is serving or has served our country in the armed forces, if you have a parent who is serving or has served in the armed forces, I would like you to stand and remain standing if you have a brother in the armed forces. I would like you to stand and remain standing if you've had a grandmother, a grandfather, or an uncle who served in our armed forces. I would like you to stand and remain standing if you are a spouse or a child of a first responder. Remain standing. To my fellow veterans in the audience, I'd like you to look around. They may not be yours, but because of what you have done, they exist. Veterans, we honor you today for answering the call, for standing in the gap, for the sleepless nights, for the unseen sacrifices. We see you, we support you, we remember you, and today we honor you. And if you would please stand, my veterans, I would like you to join with others in giving yourselves a round round of applause. Thank you for your service and allowing me to honor you. The things a guy has to do to get a standing ovation.
Good morning. Today, we pause to honor and express our deepest gratitude to the brave men and women who have worn the uniform of the United States Armed Forces. Our veterans, those who have served in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and now the Space Force, represent the very best of American courage, commitment, and sacrifice. Their service has ensured the freedoms we enjoy every single day. The freedom to gather here, to learn, and to pursue our dreams. On this day, we recognize not just their valor in times of conflict, but their enduring dedication in times of peace, protecting our nation across the globe, on land, at sea, and in the air. As a tribute to their collective dedication, we will now play the Armed Forces Melody, also known as the Salute to the Branches. This melody brings together the official songs of our military services. If you are a veteran, or an active duty service member, or a family member of one, we invite you to rise when you hear your song of your respective branch. This is a moment for us to recognize you individually and with deep respect. Thank you.
Veterans Day program to a close, I want to share a few final thoughts on behalf of the students here at Defiance Middle and High School. To our honored veterans and those currently serving, I want to say a profound and heartfelt thank you. We owe a special word of thanks to our guest speaker, Marine veteran Gary Rodenberger. Mr. Rodenberger, your words were truly powerful and inspiring. Thank you for sharing your experience and your dedication to the United States Marine Corps with us today. Once again, thank you to all of our guests, staff, and performers for making this program possible. And to our veterans, thank you for everything. We are forever in your debt. The program is now concluded. High school and middle school students, please wait on the directions to be dismissed.